This podcast is going to go over energy flow and the energy pyramid. Before we do this, before we proceed, I want you guys to answer these two questions, and I want you to analyze this pyramid right here. So, we have flowers with bushes here. We have grasshoppers, and then we have birds and a wolf. So, based on this pyramid, what do you think this pyramid represents? What do you think it represents based on these pictures of these organisms? And why is there only one wolf on top, but a lot of grass at the bottom of the pyramid? So go ahead and pause this and go ahead and try that. One sentence for each one is completely fine. Okay, now that you tried this, some of you might have said that the reason there's more grass at the bottom is because there's more of it, and that's actually true. The reason why there's one wolf on top is because there isn't that much of it either. So that is one way to think about it as well. You could also think about it in terms of energy. So plants would, because there's more plants, there would be more energy available in the ecosystem or community. And there is less energy found in the wolves. There's just not that many of them for us to get our energy from, or for other organisms to get their energy from them. So any of those would work. However, the more formal way to think about this is that the energy pyramid represents the flow of energy in a community. Okay, so the flow of energy in a community. It begins at the bottom, so this is where the energy is gonna go. Start, and the grasshoppers would eat the grass, and so that means that the energy is going to move from the grass to the grasshopper. So there's going to be an arrow pointing at the grasshopper because that's where the energy is going, that's where it's flowing. So as an energy pyramid is a graphical model of the flow of energy in the community. It begins at the bottom with producers. So you have your primary producers, which are your plants, which are the organisms that make their own energy through photosynthesis, and then it works its way up just like a food chain does. As you can tell, the primary producer has the most energy, and that's how much there is, that many kilocalories per square meter a year. That's how much energy it provides per year, and only 10% of that energy is transferred over to the primary consumers, and then 10% of that is transferred over to the secondary consumers. So we call this a 10% rule. And it's shaped that way because, again, less and less energy is flowing through the food chains. So why are energy pyramids shaped the way they are? 90% of the incoming energy is used up and released as heat. So only 10% moves because most of it is wasted. Most of it is released into the atmosphere. And so very little percentage will actually go to the next member of the food chain. So like it says, only about 10% of energy is passed to the next consumer. We call this the 10% rule. This is why the pyramid gets smaller at each level. Less and less energy is available as you go up the food chain, right? That's what I just said. The 10% rule, again, a little bit more about that. There's a definition you need to know. It's called the trophic level. Each level right here on the pyramid is a trophic level, a feeding level. This eats this eats that. Like tuna eats carnivores. Carnivorous fish eat carnivorous zooplankton. Carnivorous zooplankton eats herbivores. Herbivores eats phytoplankton. Like, these are different feeding levels, and the higher up you are, the less energy there is for consumption. Okay, so again, energy only goes in one direction. The sun to producers, to consumers, to decomposers. It's not a cycle, but a cycle in terms of putting back nutrients. And the last slide I want to go over is, why are there more producers than consumers? And because less and less energy is available at each level, that means that the ecosystem can support less and less organisms at each level. So for example, here the primary producers, there's a lot of energy available, but because there is less of it flowing to the primary consumers, there's going to be less of them. And because there's a little bit of energy flowing to the lions, for example, there isn't going to be much lions because they don't have enough energy to thrive in huge numbers. So if I give you a problem and I tell you like, oh, you have 2400 kilocalories available on this feeding level or this trophic level, how much of it will be transferred over to the next trophic level? Then you're going to take 10% of this. And the way you usually do it is you just move the decimal 1 to the left. So instead of 2400, it'll be 240 here. So that's how much energy will be available for the giraffe. And then if this is 240, then this must be 24. So 24 kilocalories will be transferred over to the lions in this energy pyramid that I provided for you.